Hi, I'm Jeff, and I am here today with a quick unboxing video for the new Dungeons & Dragons Collector Series miniatures. I've got two of the four sets. I ordered all four, but apparently they've only shipped two so far. I can't seem to get an answer on what the status of the others is yet, so shame on you, Gale Force 9. We need better communication for your retail customers. But when I first saw that these were announced in last fall, I guess, I was really excited. I couldn't really justify the expense when I first saw them listed, but I decided to take the plunge. I think it was New Year's Day when I placed my order. They were announced. There were four sets. The Purple Worm, you can see here, giant Purple Worm, Illithid raiding party. And then there were two others. I know one was a Drow raiding party, and I can't remember what the fourth is. I went ahead and ordered all four of them. They didn't ship in January, so in February I emailed Gale Force 9 and they said, oh, we expect them to ship in March. They didn't ship in March, and two of the four showed up yesterday. So I don't know when the other two are coming. I did see that they just announced the next item in the Collector's Edition series, which is Lolth. If you're familiar with the Drizzt stories and the Underdark and Forgotten Realms, it comes with two figures, Lolth kind of in her humanish form and then in her demon form with the big spider body. And of course they paint them up really nice for their advertisements and make them look great. But let's go ahead and get these puppies open and see what we've got. I've been painting miniatures myself for just about a year and a half, 2 years now. Love playing miniature games, always have. Been a big Dungeons & Dragons fan since I was a kid. I used to play, I know this dates me, but we used to play the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons before there was any edition, second edition, third edition, fourth edition, etc. I am in a sort of slowly moving fourth edition campaign right now, but in looking at the scale of these, they realistically could be used, I think, in a D&D campaign, or they would look great painted on the shelf. So the first thing here I'm unwrapping is the Purple Worm, limited edition, only 1,000 sets made. This was, I think, $30 before shipping. There's a picture on the back. It says this is true to scale. Massive burrowing creatures. Purple worms are feared for their ability to swallow enemies whole. They are capable of burrowing through solid rock and leave huge tunnels in their wake. It says we've got four resin pieces in here, sculpted by Charles Woods. Let's open it up and see what we got. So far I've painted primarily more of the softer, kind of flexible, rubbery plastic stuff. Until I picked up my Dreadfleet game and I got the chance to paint some rigid resin plastic like this, and really like painting that stuff better. I have painted only two metal minis as well, so I don't really have much experience there, but I just love the amount of detail that they can get in these molded plastic pieces or miniatures. And man, this one looks fantastic. I can tell already this is going to be a blast. I don't know if you can see very well the picture on the box here, but of course they've done a fantastic job of painting it, and it is just absolutely a vicious looking creature with a ton of detail, and I can see all of that detail molded into these pieces already. We got a base piece, and it looks like they've got some nice, rubble and rock molded in there, such that it would appear the worm is bursting up through the ground. It's about 3 inches in diameter, I would say. Then we've got three other pieces here. They label them as the body, the jaw, which I guess is this piece, and the head, which is this piece, very similar to the jaw. Looks like assembly is going to be quick and easy. They've got a little nub here and a spot in the bottom of the body to sort of register to make sure you're getting everything in there right. I can't figure it out at the moment, but looks like it'll be a piece of cake. And then I have to take a look and see. Looks like a similar type of a system to get these two pieces put together. They're going to go something along those lines. Looks like that's going to probably go right onto here somehow, and then of course this is going to go right down into there. So looks like it shouldn't be too difficult to put together. If you're used to the Games Workshop kind of dark gray plastic stuff that comes on sprues. This feels like a little bit of a different material. I do like painting the Games Workshop minis, although I will say I don't use their paint products. I just use some hobby store stuff. But I would say that this has a little bit of a different feel, a little bit of a different texture to it, and just an immense amount of detail. I don't know if you can see inside the mouth here at kind of the teeth and all the extra little textures and bits that are in there. And again, in the painted picture on the box or the website, you can really see all that stuff. And I can tell you, looking at this model, I can see that with a good paint job, it can come out exactly like the box says. And having painted enough now, I think I can say, you know, that this model is one that shouldn't be too terribly challenging to paint. And by that I mean that they've given you enough molded detail there that with some base coats, and if you've got some basic techniques around shading, highlighting with dry brushing, maybe some washes, I think even a novice could probably get a really good looking result here. So that's the Purple Worm. Awesome. Very, very excited about it. If you want to see the pictures or purchase these, you can get them from Gale Force 9 at gf9.com. I will say that the other products of theirs that I've used, mostly accessories for D&D campaigns, have been fantastic. I also have one of their vinyl maps, which is very, very nice. Those have all been acquired from local game shops, so not directly from Gale Force 9. This is the first time I've dealt with them directly, and like I say, a bit disappointed in the communication, but you know, at the end of the day, the product is here, and I'm happy about it. So, next we have the Dungeons & Dragons Collector's Series Illithid Raiding Party, limited edition 1500 sets. This, if you can see in the picture, has 5 models in there. We've got an Intellect Devourer, a Gnoll Warrior, an Illithid Mage, an Illithid Warrior, and a Durgar Warrior. And again, I gotta say that the detail in these photos is just fantastic. The Mage has got some magic kind of coming out of his hand and going down to the crystal in his staff. The Gnoll is just super, super cool. The hair on his back. The Durgar has got a ton of detail in his armor and a very cool little necklace that looks like it's made of teeth or finger bones, and a pickaxe on the side. I mean, just really neat looking stuff. So let's open this up. It looks like these are going to be on sprues, so I'm not sure how much we'll be able to see in terms of detail. Very nice packaging. Again, this set was $50. $50 for the raiding party with 5 figures in it, and $30 for the giant purple worm. Really nicely packed. As you can see, all the sprues are individually wrapped in bubble wrap. We have one sprue here that has all 5 bases on it, and you can see they're pretty standard scale miniatures, so they would be they will work very well with a 4th edition campaign, or if you play any of the D&D Adventure System games, which I play a lot of, Legend of Drizzt, Wrath of Asharilan, Castle Ravenloft. I think these would work very well with that. Looks like, of course, I'm sure once we clip them off the sprues, they'll need some cleanup, but a little bit of cleanup. I just see a little bit of kind of plastic sort of hanging loose on the edge, sort of almost like a residue from being stamped out or something. But I will say, I guess I was going to say I don't see any mold flashing. There is a very little bit of mold flashing around the edges. These bases are all kind of, you know, molded. 4 of them look like bricks, and then the one for the Brain Eater looks like something a little bit different. And they do have labeled across the bottom which base goes with each miniature, which is nice. Also, you can see they have little holes in those bases, which I think is what we will use to register the location of the miniature on the base when we assemble them. Here's the Gnoll. The Gnoll, I would say, is 90% assembled. Looks like he's got an arm that needs glued on that's holding his staff, and his other arm needs glued on that's holding his shield. Looks like another little piece of something here, I'm not sure. But it doesn't look like a ton of assembly. The majority of the bottom, or the body of the Gnoll, is already all put together. Hopefully you can see there's a little bit of plastic flashing around the edges. But again, looking at the main body of the Gnoll, I don't see any flashing or mold lines that we'll have to try and trim off. And that's great news. When I painted my Chardalon sets in those, they did have some flashing, and because of the nature of that sort of softer, more flexible material made it very difficult to remove that flashing, and I ended up just painting over it more often than not. Here we have what looks to be this is an Illithid, and this looks like the, what do they call him, a warrior? Illithid warrior, yeah. Again, needs his arms glued on, needs his head glued on. Body looks absolutely fantastic. The detail on his breastplate is just totally there. He's got a nice little skull, it looks like, sort of on his belt there. His cloak in the back is kind of torn up and raggedy looking, and it's just, man, this is going to be a blast to paint. If you're somebody who enjoys painting these fantasy type of figures, you enjoy doing the shading on cloaks and whatnot, so far, you know, at least looking at this guy, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, not too hard, only because they've molded all the detail in there already. It's just a matter of the degree of painting skills, which I do not have very much, to get them where we want them to be. Looks like I've got the head from the Brain Devourer that just rolled out of the packaging, so he may have come unattached from his sprue. I pulled out the Durgar Warrior, and he's already kind of coming attached from his sprue a little bit, so he might have gotten squished. I can tell you the box is in pristine condition, so it would have had to have happened when he was being wrapped in bubble wrap. Looks like he's got, you know, what, 3 pieces or 2 pieces maybe that need to be glued onto his main body. Oh, I see what it is. This has some pieces from the Durgar. This is the Durgar, and here's his arms over here. This is the Brain Devourer. So this little brain must have been attached on here and come off. So looks like we'll get that glued up. And again, you know, I'm really excited about the Durgar. Looking at the photos, just because I love the look of his armor. I love the look of his necklace and his hammer, and he just seems to be much more badass than the Durgar that came with my Wrath of Chardalon set. So this is one guy who I know will be getting used, and I can say for certain that the Illithids will be used in the game as well, because in Legend of Drizzt, if you're familiar with those stories, Menthil, the Mind Flayer, who is works for Lolth, is one of the villains, and there's a mediocre model that came with that game. So, you know, last but certainly not least, I guess this is the Illithid warrior here. It must have been the Illithid mage we were looking at before. I would say very much like the others, there's a ton of detail here on his armor. The head is sculpted beautifully with his face, and his swords are very, very cool. Lots of details, so this should be a pretty easy one to paint up as well. So I guess that's the first 2 sets that I've gotten so far. I would say that probably worth the money. You know, we'll see how the assembly goes. It doesn't look like it's going to be any big deal. I plan to use the same type of bonding adhesive, or kind of plastic weld type stuff that I use on my Dreadfleet pieces from Games Workshop. If that doesn't work, of course, we'll go with the good old-fashioned cyanoacrylate or super glue. And I have to give some thought to whether I want to assemble them before or after I paint them. I can tell you, you know, for these 4 right here, everything with the Brain Devourer, I will certainly paint those bases before I paint the models. It just seems like it's going to be the easiest way to do it. On the others, you know, I may do some painting. For instance, as I look at this Knoll, it might be easier to paint his shield before I attach it onto his body. It might be easier to paint his spear before I attach it onto his body. I don't know, but that's something that I think we'll just have to figure out as we go piece by piece and start working our way through. And it's going to be a little while till I can get started painting them. I'm finishing off my Dreadfleet project right now, and I've got a couple of other irons in the fire that I need to get taken care of. So there you have it, the unboxing of the first 2 sets of the limited edition Dungeons & Dragons Collector Series that's out. They, like I say, they've announced the next package, which will be Lolth, with 2 figures in it, and then they have hinted at a dragon. and they've hinted at a couple of other well-known characters. So I don't know what exactly that means, and I don't know if I'll buy. The reason I found out about them is one of my local stores I receive an email newsletter from, and they are one of only 30 retail outlets in the United States that's going to be carrying these. And so when they were first announced, of course, they sent out an email blast telling us how excited they were to be one of the 30 to carry these pieces. I'm in Dallas. That's called Texas Toy Soldier is the name of the store down in North Dallas. And that's what led me to go kind of look them up. So I'm not sure how much they're going to do with the series, how long this is going to go on. You know, I hope it really does remain limited edition, and there's only 1,500 sets made, as it says on the box, or 1,000 sets of the Purple Worm, but that remains to be seen. Either way, these would look great on the table. They would look great in the display case or on the shelf. I just think we've got some really nice pieces to work with here. So that's my first video review. Before I sign off, two things that I have to mention, a little shameless self-promotion. My wife and I run a small business, and I make some gaming accessories. I am a woodworker, and I make some dice cups and dice towers and custom card holders, a lot of Arkham Horror stuff, some tokens and whatnot. The name of that business is Ceres Studios. If you want to drop by the webpage, that's CERESSTUDIOS.com. Check it out. There's not a lot of gaming stuff listed because I stay pretty busy with custom orders. So, you know, drop me a line if there's something you're interested in. We work in a little bit of plastic, mostly wood, and then my wife makes some very, very cool jewelry in several different styles for the female geeks in your life. The other thing I want to mention is a very cool site that's in development now. By the time this video hits the internet, hopefully it will be up, and that's going to be miniaturecentral.com. A good friend of mine here in town and myself kind of brainstormed the idea in the midst of a game of Star Trek HeroClix Tactics the other night, and he's really run with it. I know that he's got a coder that's put a good 15 or 20 hours so far into it. He's got the domain and the servers all set and ready to roll, and what we'd like it to be is really sort of the premier web page or community or hub for collectors of miniatures and miniature gamers. We hope to be able to build databases with specs and photos on, you know, many, if not all, the miniatures for some of the biggest, most popular games out there. Certainly there will be forums where users can post and upload photos of their own armies and groups. And then really kind of what started the idea off was create a place where people can connect up and trade miniatures to complete their collections. I had kind of started a little site just for our local group here that plays Star Trek HeroClix Tactics to say, hey, I've got, you know, 3 of this ship, I don't have that ship, you want to trade me? And when Dan heard about that, he just kind of ran with it and came up with this fantastic idea for a much broader site. So I think it's going to start small, get a couple of games on there, but definitely keep an eye out for that. Miniaturecentral.com, just like it sounds, no spaces or hyphens or anything like that. That should be along soon if you are a miniature fan, and you can certainly or will certainly find me on there and probably some photos of these bad boys once I get them all painted up.